Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Healing Journey where I'm sharing my healing journey in real time. So today I want to talk about something that is probably going to feel a little like against what you intuitively think is right, okay? But I promise if you hang with me, you're going to feel better by the end of this video. So one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is being introspective and holding ourselves accountable for the way that we feel and allowing ourselves to find our values so that we can find what works for us in our guidance system with our emotions and then build the life that we want to live. And I know a lot of this sounds woo-woo-y or whatever, but it really is the ticket. And there's so many studies and so many religions and so many things that have swirled around our planet for so many years, thousands of years. And sometimes these messages get misconstrued. Everything that I'm about to tell you is thousands of years old. So hang with me. Truffles is getting a drink. It's way too hot to sit outside right now. I would just be dripping and So today I want to talk about something that has completely changed the way that I view life. And I've always had this in me. I remember being a little girl thinking a lot of the things that I'm now putting out on my YouTube channel. And it's almost like I have to pull these layers away and peel them back and unlearn things that I've learned through experiences and through things that I've experienced in my life, whether it be through relationships or family or friends or even work situations. These also are things that I mentioned in the last video I did with epigenetics that are in our DNA. And if you don't understand what that is, just go do a little bit of a dive or do a deep dive if you really want to. It's fascinating. And the latest studies are really incredible. And I really believe that the studies that are being put out right now, when you hear what they are coming out with, it feels right. As a human being, you're like, yeah, yes, that makes total sense. It's not a trick, it's science and it's energy, and we are more energy than we are matter. Whether you're ready to hear that or not, that's up to you, but that's true. So we have to think of ourselves as a battery, right? So what do you do when a battery is dead? Well, ideally you recharge it, right? And then you use it again. And that's sort of how we have to think of ourselves. And it's really hard to determine when it's time to walk away or shield yourself from a situation that is depleting you of your energy. You give out and you receive, and you have to know how to do both for this cycle to operate properly. Recently, I've become grateful for one of the most devastating chapters that I have gone through thus far in my life. It has taught me that no matter how deep I am in despair, if I choose to stay there, and if I choose to get angry and if I choose to get upset at all of these circumstances for too long, then I will feel that and I will continue to create those feelings in my life. I don't want to feel that way. This is not denial. This is choosing what works for me. Denial doesn't work for me. And sitting with the emotions that a lot of these circumstances and these people and relationships have caused makes me sick. And I don't want to be sick. I want to be well, and I want to move on, and I want to build a life that is in alignment with my value system. So adopting this perspective has changed my life. It doesn't mean that I'm going to include the people that hurt me. What happens when you do this is that if you move on from situations, people, whatever that is, in that growth process, you don't have to invite them into your life. In fact, they'll probably end up inviting themselves if they choose to evolve with you at that same frequency. But you can't hold your breath waiting for that. And that is the mistake that I have made throughout my life, because I've always had this wonder, like a childlike wonder of, ooh, let's go discover this. And why does that do that? And why are we here? And what is that? And how does that work? I've never been interested in the news. I've never been interested in following a lot of what society follows, whether it be in entertainment and music and knowing who's who and what to buy and this and that. I just don't. Now, I appreciate these things. I'm on the other end of it. I'm in the entertainment industry in my own version of that I've created for myself that works, that aligns with my values. The mainstream industry did not align with my values, which is why I've chosen to do this in Key West. Okay. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to build bigger opportunities in the mainstream. It means that I have to build this foundation for myself from what works for me, for what makes sense for me. So there's an illusion. The illusion of damage versus the power of choice, okay? And we have to acknowledge these hardships. They can feel like they're breaking us when we acknowledge them. But are they really damaging us? Or is that just how we're perceiving it? Now, this is where we have to introduce the idea that we have a choice, and we can either let these struggles completely destroy us, and then we can stay on that level. You almost think of it like a video game. So if you're going to play a video game, right, and there's levels, if you get stuck on the same level, figure out why. Why do you have to keep going back to that same level in the game? A lot of times it's because you were distracted, or you just didn't learn it enough yet, or you're focused on the enemy, or you're focused on the problem too long, right? So if you're being attacked and you're shielding yourself and you're aware of it, and you might have to fight back, right, to get out alive, that attack is not going to have empathy for you. You have to find it within yourself to go, okay, it's time to move on to the next level. I don't want to keep going back there. This is where getting to the next level is such a gift. And this is how it works for me. From my perspective, I think that once you obtain courage to move on to the next level as best you can, be grateful for those battles that were in your past. And I know that this is really tough, especially if you're someone like me who's going through something really difficult. But this is what's gotten me through. And honestly, if I had just stayed in the depths of despair, I wouldn't be making these videos. I wouldn't be shining my sparkle that is in me. I was born with a spark. You were too. Stop putting water on it because of something or someone else. Acknowledge the something or someone else and go to the next level of the video game. This is what allows us to have transformation. And a lot of times we have this impatience where it's like, I just want it to be better now. Okay, that is a logical thing to a degree. But you have to remember that you meet that with balance so you can make the change immediately. But if you're going to make the change, you have to remember that you don't just plant a seed and then all of a sudden the next day there's mangoes on the tree. It's not going to happen. You have to wait, and it takes time and patience. Just know that you planted the seed of growth, and eventually the fruit will come. So let's look at this from another perspective. You have darkness and then you have light. And what happens for us, most of us, not all, but most of us on this planet have light and dark. And even in places like Sweden, where they have the midnight sun and they have these really dark, dark days in the wintertime where the sun just barely peeks out, right? For maybe a matter of minutes. These people have to take extra vitamin D, and they have to still remember that the benefit of light is still needed for the human body, okay? The body and the mind and the spirit are definitely something that have to go in alignment, and they have to have a rhythm for them to be working properly all together. When you are focused on the bad parts and the darkness too much, what happens? You sleep through the whole day. You don't get your vitamins, you don't get the minerals, you don't get the joy, and you don't get the nutrients from the light. So sometimes you have to bring your own light in the midst of the darkness. And a lot of times the people and the things that are causing the darkness and trying to force this darkness on you are going to claim that you are absolutely insane. I have been called a lunatic. I have been called a slut. I've been called a cunt. I've been called a sociopath. I've been called a narcissist. I've been called some of the most hurtful things. A skank, because I wanted to be happy, because I wanted to fight for my right to feel good. Now, when I was around that, what was happening? I was hurt. It hurt me really bad. But immediately I realized when I felt that, and this came from people that I love, right? I had to separate it and go, they have a lot of darkness and all I can do is be light. And what did that do? That triggered them even more. That darkness came even heavier. It came even like scarier. And that's because I was hanging out with what was throwing things at me in that video game instead of moving to the next level. I have been through a lot of situations like this, and I had to stop and ask myself why it keeps repeating. And it's because I wasn't doing the work in figuring out why I was surrounding myself in these situations that just kept repeating and repeating. In my last video, I talk about generational cycles, and this is part of it. To break this cycle and to continue to go to the next level of the video game is something that you have to do for yourself, but you can't force this on anyone else. And there's so much in my journey where I really would love for all the people that I love to join me in this better feeling space. But the thing that we have to realize is we aren't on their journey and we don't know where they're at in the video game. We just don't. Only they know that. I had to hit a rock bottom, and I hit mine on Christmas Eve. It was the most hurtful, low moment of my life, and it felt like I didn't have a life anymore. And I was afraid that it was going to be taken. And in that darkness, I found the light, okay? And it was my only option. And sometimes you have to hit your rock bottom, whatever that is for you. And I don't believe that people must hit rock bottom, but if you do, it does accelerate your journey if you choose to heal. We can't always control what happens to us, okay? That's something I had to accept. But we can control how we handle the hardship. Being mindful is something that has changed my life and has allowed me to learn about these things. But one thing that I recently heard was kind and mind, kindfulness. And I really believe that that's something that we all should strive for because it feels so good. So I've mentioned before, and I'll do it in a video soon, about how walking changed my life. But today I noticed something that I had been doing for a while now. I noticed that anytime I see a nail while I'm walking in the road, I get rid of it because I don't want for someone to get a flat tire. Now, I know that this is a very small little thing, but it's a habit that I've made where I take a nail out of the road every time I see it. And that's one of my ways of doing something that makes me feel good. It's mindful and it's kind. It's kindfulness. We're inventing words here. So, and we all have every emotion. I have the ability to be spicy, mean, angry, happy. We all have these, all of us. So which way are we swaying? And a lot of these situations and these people will bring out certain things in us if we don't have control of ourselves. This is where the perspective of starting your day with mindfulness and laying your values down and then keeping in alignment with that is going to keep you from getting wrapped up in the negativity. You have to look at the negatives, though, as a gift. I know you don't want to hear that, but I promise if you can try to wrap your mind around this, and here's a way that I have decided to do it. It's not easy to be grateful for struggles because when you're in it and you feel those emotions of that struggle, the last thing you want to hear is, you create your own reality. You can just feel better like this. Okay, that's true, but you have to learn to believe and know. It's in the knowing. You can even forget the belief. Go into the know, knowing that this is the answer to evolve and create this new life. I mean, this is ancient wisdom, thousands of years old. We got off track, didn't we? We lost sight of this, didn't we? And there's a lot of people that come into your life that are here to teach you lessons. And I always heard that saying and I was like, blah, blah, blah. It's so true. So I promise that when you look back on your life, you just take 1 second right now to remember a time when you grew from something. Every other circumstance in your life is no different. It's no different. So if you can just take that tiny little wisdom, right? You can grow that wisdom and you can use this for your whole life. And you can use it even if you get anxiety, like going to the mailbox, like, I know there's bills in there and I don't know how I'm going to pay them and I don't like my job, or going through a divorce, or somebody was mean to me, or my family leaves me out, or whatever the case may be. All these thoughts, they start to spiral. This used to happen to me. I would have spiraling thoughts out of fear. And the reason was because I hadn't built the emotional foundation that aligned with my value system to keep me on track. And I was so focused on helping and trying to fix everything outside of myself that I wasn't allowing the lessons to be learned. And it was a disaster. And it got worse and worse. It didn't matter what relationship I was in or what friendship or whatever. If there was that toxic cycle in there, yeah, it's bad. But you can't just go, yeah, that person was toxic and I had to get out. That's not where it ends. It's thank you for being toxic, because that's forcing me to rewire myself and fix the things about myself that aren't in alignment with what I want in my life, okay? The moment you find gratitude for your enemies, the moment you find gratitude for the contrasting situations in your life from the light and the dark, okay? We all have this. It's the yin and the yang. It's been around for thousands of years. So it's about finding the balance. We have these things in us to survive and get ourselves to the next level of the video game. So just remember that in the moment, this is really difficult to implement in real life. Because if that person or situation, even if you're having a great day, like suddenly you see them or you see their car or their truck or something and your heart starts to pound and you start to get sweaty and you start to get those spiraling thoughts, take a deep breath. Try to discipline yourself into through the nose for 7 seconds. Hold it for 3 and let it out for as long as it'll come out. And as a vocalist, I've noticed when I'm singing and I'm holding notes that are longer, that vibration is so healing. And it will send you into a higher frequency, which is where we as human beings are supposed to be living. And those lower frequencies and that icky stuff is what's the fuel to push us higher and higher. I promise you that this is how it is. And I wish that I had remembered this sooner, because I do believe that we all come into this life knowing these things and we get distracted. We get distracted by what's in our DNA because we don't even realize. We get distracted for what's on the TV, what's going on in the world. Listen, I don't scroll the socials. I just don't, not really. Every now and then to check in to see how my people are doing, I try. And of course, to connect with you is my top priority as far as socials go. But, this is changing my life. I'm an artist. I paint and I sing and I write songs. And I'm writing music that I've always wanted to write, but I didn't know how to get it. And it was in there. But I had to get all these layers away and off. The heaviness had to come off. But without the darkness, I wouldn't have been able to find that, okay? This is evolution at its finest. Do yourself and do humanity a great deed. Find your own experience and think internally. You don't have to do it externally, because that's going to come across a little nutty. Thank you. Although sometimes it is in your greatest interest to thank these people, whether it be inside or out. I've recently had to do this, and they look at you like you have 13 heads. Let them. All right? Be grateful, because without this negativity and without the contrasting situations and the things that hurt you, without these things, you're not going to be pushed to the point where you are going to choose to evolve and be a better version of yourself. And be prepared, because when you start to do this, they are going to do whatever they can to destroy it. That's when you just keep moving. Move to the next level of the video game. Let them stay where they are. And you know what? If they're meant to be in your life, or if this situation is meant to work out, they will join you in that higher level. It doesn't mean you're better, by the way. We're just in different spaces on different journeys, and you just have to choose which one is best for you. So today, take a little time to be grateful for your contrasting situation, no matter what it is, and then just sit with it and keep going to the next level. All right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped.